Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kit Bowman. You definitely might recognize me as a video creator from the previous videos. I'm so glad you like it so far. So, I am so glad you can join me on another read it out video on the behalf of the most spooky, haunting, fun Halloween season of the year. So, we are already scarily excited for Halloween. I can believe it's quite a bit scary in the dark night. You must beware of monsters everywhere. So, first of all, I'll show a book I got you probably might be familiar with. So, I have got Goosebumps Horrorland Monster Blood for Breakfast. This is written by one of the famous writer, R.L Stine. I don't know if you heard of that writer before, but I actually love Goosebumps. I was a kid. Especially you have read those books. This is a really interesting book to read for, especially like teenagers and young adults. So, before I start reading, just beware any of disturbing imagery or most terrifying elements during the part of this story. So, it's got about an hour or two. Okay? Are you there to watch me read to you? Yes, I think so. Okay, there's something to be scared. I'll be reading this book to you. This Goosebumps. Okay, sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. Begin. My name is Matt Daniels, and my terrifying story began on a typical morning. In my house, a typical means totally annoying. Because who showed up just as my sister, Livy, and I were finishing our breakfast? The kid from next door, Bradley Wormser. Everyone at school calls him Worm, and it's a pretty good nickname for him. Trust me, Bradley shows up in the kitchen almost every morning. Just as Livy and I are finishing breakfast, and he gobbles up whatever he can grab. He's so skinny, it's hard to believe he could eat everything on the kitchen table if we left him. He really does look like a long, lanky worm with glasses. I have this idea for one day. I'm going to glue the pop tarts to the table, then I'm going to enjoy the look on Bradley's face as he struggles to pull them up. I'm great at inventing stuff, and I am really interested in science, and I am really pretty good athlete. But none of that helps me against Wormser. He drives me nuts. This morning, Bradley waited till my mum's back was turned. Then he dropped a fat dead horsefly into my cereal. I started down at the fly floating on the top of the milk. Yo, Bradley said. You don't want that, do you? Matt, there's a dead fly in it. He pulled the bowl away from me, tilted it to his face, and drank the whole cereal down. Then he spat the fly on the floor to the floor. Not bad, he said, using Levi's sleeve to wipe his mouth. A little soggy. Let go of me, Livy cried. He snapped his fingers at the centimeter from her nose. He thinks That's totally funny. Livy hates it. Mom has no idea what a pain Bradley is. She was cleaning something at the sink. Mom, can I have another bowl of cereal? I asked. No seconds, Matt, she replied without turning around. You have got to watch your weight. Your big swim meet is coming up soon, remember? My stomach growled angrily. I grabbed a wet glob of cornflakes from Livy's table with my fingers, and it stuck onto his Bradley's nose. Mum turned around. Matt, she shouted, glaring at me. Don't play with your food. Yeah, Matt, don't play with your food, Bradley said, grinning. As soon as Mum went back to cleaning, he made a grab for Livy's Pop-Tart. Mum turned around again just as Levi snatched it away. Livy, no fighting, she snapped. But Mum, see what I told you. You spell Bradley's name P-A-I-N. This was the most important week of my life, and I didn't need Bradley in my face. I would love to invent something to make the creep disappear. Or maybe I could just ask him to disappear. But there are a few problems. For one thing, he lives in the house right next door, and his mom and my mom are business partners. They both run the party catering business for our homes. This means that Livy, Bradley and I are thrown together a lot. There's one other big problem. Bradley worships me. This morning, Bradley put his paws all over my new swim team t-shirt. Matt, can I have this shirt? Where did you get it? It's awesome. It's kind of small on you, isn't it? He always wanted to dress like me. He thinks it will make him popular too. It's pitiful, right? And the guy never stopped talking. Did you see that scary movie on HBO last night? Claw? It totally creeps me out. When those two claws reached out of the basement and grabbed the kid by his shoulders, he squeezed Livy's shoulders with both hands, just like this. Ha ha ha. I'm the vicious claw. Stop. Let go. My sister screamed. Livy, Mum scolded. Stop being such a crab. Bradley laughed. And he waited till my mum left the kitchen. Then he pulled a small orange and black can from his backpack. Matt, check this out. Go ahead. Open the lid. I dare you. I groaned. Now what? Worm spent all this time together online. He plays these sci-fi battle games till late at night, and he's always sending away for all kinds of weird things. He shoved the can towards me. Go ahead, open it, he said. I pushed his hand back. No way, he grinned. Okay, I'll do it. He gripped the lid and started to turn it. Then suddenly he stopped and his eyes went wide. His smile faded. Watch out, he cried. He screamed. It's gonna blow. The lid popped off and cluttered into the floor. I stared into the can, empty. Bradley laughed. And then I smelled something heavy and damp and watered floating up from inside the can like dead fish, only much worse, like year-old spoiled milk. Oh! I grabbed my stomach and let go a groan. I tried to hold my breath. Too late. The sick smell invaded my nose, and now I could taste it on my tongue. Ew! My stomach lurched. I started to gag. I jumped to my feet and ran to the bathroom. Levi was retching loudly. She came running right behind me, her hand pressed tightly over her mouth. I could hear Bradley laughing his head off. He has a hee-ho donkey love. Obnoxious. Leaning on the bathroom sink, I took several deep breaths. My stomach heaved. I couldn't get the punky smell from my nose and mouth, and I could smell it on my clothes. I glanced at the clock. No time to change. I was going to smell like sour milk at school all day. I trudged back into the kitchen. Bradley was still laughing at his stupid joke. That was a riot, he said. You both turned green. Ha ha! He held up the empty can. Check it out. In big black letters, the label read, Gas Attack Party Favourite. Livy had tears in her eyes. Her hands were balled into tight fists. I knew she wanted to murder Bradley, so did I? But what could we do? You guys totally stink, he said, and he laughed his hee-haw donkey laughed some more. What could it be more embarrassing than walking to school with Bradley every morning? Livy took off and ran, her red ponytail flying over her backpack. So run, suckers, she shouted. I was stuck with him. No way to escape. It's only 3 streets away to Shandy's Hills Middle School. But with Worm beside me, it always seems like 3 kilometers. I have some trainers, Bradley told me. He stomped down hard on my foot, but mine aren't scuffed up like that, he said. Give me a break, I muttered. He ran ahead a few steps, then pushed the head against my chest to stop me. Then he opened his backpack and fumbled around inside it. Swear you won't tell anyone about this, he whispered. I have got something here I bought online that will totally impress Mr. Scotto. No way, I said, jumping away from him. If it's another stink can, keep it to yourself. No, this is serious, he said. He swatted the fly off his stringy brown hair. Then he pulled a tiny jar from his backpack. This is no joke. This is a big deal. A school bus rumbled past and turned onto Willie Street, and I glanced around. We were the only kids in sight. Bradley, we're going to be late, I said. I hate to be late. I am competitive swimmer, remember? I like to be first, not fast. Bradley spun the lid off the tiny glass jar. Inside, I saw a jagged piece of white rock. No, what it is? Bradley asked. His brown eyes flashed. Try not to guess. Don't try to guess. It's a piece of rock from a planet Venus. Huh? I cried. Are you kidding me, Bradley? How could you fall for such a stupid? You're stupid, Matt, he shouted. It's real. One of the space probes brought it back. There are only 10 rocks like this on Earth, and I won an auction for it. Would you believe it? Only cost me $20. I just shook my head. I didn't know what to say. Bradley and I are both 20 years old enough to know you can buy a rock from Venus for $20. He pulled it out of the jar and placed it carefully in my hand. Is this going to score points with Mr. Scotto or not? He asked. Don't be too jealous, Matt. But this could win me the science prize. The science prize was a big deal. I had been working on my project for weeks. Mr. Scotto is a maths and science teacher, but he's also a celebrity in Sandy Hills. He used to be an astronaut. This year, he started a contest in our school. He said he'd awarded $500 and a 3-month at NASA space camp in Florida to the kid in his class who created the most original science project. Cool, right? And since I'm the science freak in school, everyone expects me to come up with something great. And I think I have a really good idea. But how could I compete with a rock from the planet Venus? This couldn't be real, could it? I turned the rock over in my hand and studied carefully. It was solid white, kind of chalky, and very cool to the touch. Whoa, wait! I held it up close to my face. I struggled to read the tiny type engraved in the stone. What's your problem? Bradley said. Give it back. Bradley, bad news, I said. Did you read the tiny type? He blinked. Tiny type? I nodded. Yeah, it says made in China. Not funny, he cried. You are not funny. He grabbed the stone out of my hand. He raised it close to his face and froze. I wasn't kidding him. He really did say made in China on it. Bradley shrugged. No biggie, he said. Bradley says that 100 times a day. No biggie. Not biggie. Totally obnoxious, right? No biggie. Bradley pulled back his arm and heaved the stone at the stop sign on the corner. It made a ping sound as it hit the metal sign. Then I froze in horror as the stone bounced off and flew into the windshield of a passing car. It happened so quickly. The crack of the windshield, that shattering tinkle of glass as it caved in, the squeal of brakes. Through the broken glass, I saw an angry skull on the driver's face. Bradley moaned. I don't believe it. I was aiming at the stop sign. He saw the driver staring at us. Bradley pointed at me. Then he shouted as loud as he could. Why did you throw the stone, Matt? Bradley took off, running down the street. Too late for me to run. The driver's door swung open. He pulled himself out of the car as I let go a low moan as I saw who it was. Our teacher, Mrs. Scotto. Later at lunch, I didn't feel much like eating. I put some kind of sandwich on my tray and an apple. I forgot to pick up the drink. I was still in a daze, I guess. I carried my tray across the canteen to the table where my buddies from our swim team sat. I slumped down into the chair with a loud sigh. Matt, what's your problem? Kenny Waters asked. He crushed a soda can in his hand and tossed it at the group of girls at the next table. Fair cried out angrily and called him some ugly names. I had a little thing with Mr. Scotto this morning, I murmured. No way, Kenny replied. You're a star. You're his star. No way, he's going to pick on you. He didn't exactly pick on me. I said I didn't feel like talking about it. I was trying to erase it from my mind, but it wasn't easy. When Mrs. Scotto came storming out of his car, I took the rap for Bradley. I didn't snitch on him. No one likes a snitch, right? Mr. Scotto is big and tall and athlete. He works out all the time. He's got peeps a foot high. I mean, you don't really want to get on his bad side. He looks like the astronauts you see on TV. Every short, flat haircut, broad, tanned forehead, and blue eyes that seems to stare right through you like lasers. Well, he was definitely aiming lasers at me this morning. I'm really sorry I told him. Shaking my head. It was a total accident. The stone slipped from my hand and bounced off the stop sign, and I'm pretty good at talking my way out of trouble. But Mr. Scotto was very angry. He said the car was only a month old. He knows I'm not a bad kid. I think he believed it was an accident. My insurance will probably cover it. He said, if not, I'll have to call you Mum and Dad about it. I sighed. It was my own fault. Maybe I should have snitched on Bradley. Mr. Scotto's warning about calling my parents repeated in my head all morning. Each time I thought about I got angrier. Bradley is a worm. I told myself I've got to do something about him. I had this idea for a new invention. It was called Bradley in a Can. When you twist it off the lid, a bunch of disgusting brown worms came flying out. The idea made me laugh. Suddenly, I felt an elbow poke into my side. Yes or not? Kenny asked. I stared blankly at him. He laughed. You really are on mass today, he said. We are talking about the swim meet. championship with this week. You ready? Jake Dean asked. Are you taking the extra practices with a coach? Huh? Extra practices? Well, for sure, I said. The bell rang. I jumped to my feet and picked up my tray. I hadn't eaten a thing. I've got to get over this, I decided. I have to stop being angry at Bradley and concentrate all my energy on the swim team. Forget about Bradley. The next day, I took my seat in Mr. Scatto's maths class and tossed my backpack to the floor. Of course, Bradley sits next to me. Where else? Here's my shadow. He tapped me on the shoulder. Yo, what's up? I shook his hand off my shoulder and stared straight ahead. I just ignored him. Maybe he had taken a hint. I had a maths test. 20 algebra equations to solve. They were pretty easy. I'm good in maths. Equations. I like doing puzzles, and I like solving puzzles. I leaned over the test page, my pencil filling in answers. Next to me, I kept hearing Bradley's chair squeak. I glanced at him quickly. Would you believe it? The worm was staring at my answers, then writing them down. I glanced back again. I wasn't imagining it. Bradley was definitely copying from me. Did Mr. Scatto notice? I raised my eyes to the front of the room. No, the teacher was kneeling over his desk, reading a book. He kept looking up at the clock. We had only 10 minutes left. Roo. I felt a little relieved. I didn't say Bradley cheating, but then I felt Bradley's breath on my neck, and Bradley whispered, "Don't go so fast." Too loud. Some kids turned around. I froze. The pencil fell from my hand. Mr. Scotto jumped to his feet. What's going on? He boomed. He narrowed his eyes up on Bradley and me. Are you two comparing answers? Matt, you don't have to keep showing me your answers, Bradley said, loud enough for the whole room to hear. I can do the test on my own. My heart skipped a beat. I couldn't take the blame for Bradley again. Cheating was serious in our school. I knew I could be suspended for this. And then what about the swing meet? My teammates were all counting on me. It was a championship, the biggest meet of my life. And what would Mum and Dad say if I was thrilled to miss it? How could Bradley do this to me? Matt, Bradley, put down your pencils. Mr. Scotto said, I need to talk to you both. He waved us to the front of the room. I could barely breathe. I didn't believe this was happening. No biggie, Bradley whispered, following me to the front of the room. He loves you. He can talk us out of this. Mr. Scotto rubbed the hand over his short hair. He eyed us both, shaking his head. I do not allow cheaters in my class, he said sharply. I'd like you both to go stand in the hall till the test is over. You'll both get zeros. But, I sputtered. It's not all my fault. I didn't do anything. It was Bradley. Mr. Scudder raised a hand to silence me. Not another word, he said. You know how I feel about taking responsibility. He wouldn't listen to me. Are you going to suspend us? Asked in a trembling voice. I haven't decided, he replied. I glared furiously at Bradley. He stood there with a stupid grin on his face. Bradley will probably say, No, Gibby, when we get out in the hall, I thought, and I will have no choice. I have to punch his lights out. Then I really will be suspended for good, and Phil will have to punch his lights out again. Mr. Scudder held the classroom door open, still grinning. Bradley stepped out into the hall. I started through the door. Mr. Scudder followed me. Listen, Matt, he whispered. It's nice of you to try to help Bradley, but don't take it too far. I stared at him. You don't have to cheat to help him. Mr. Scudder continued. This is strike 2, Matt. I don't understand what's got into you. I know you must be tense about the swim meet, but one more strike and I have no choice. I have to suspend you from school. But Mr. Scudder, he closed the classroom door behind me. I glanced up and down the hall. Empty. I heard the voice laughter from the next classroom. Bradley leaned against the locker and stopped over to him and grabbed him by the front of his t-shirt. Why did you do it? He growled. Why did you copy my answers? He still had that sick grin on his face. You are the maths king, right? He said. Who else am I going to copy? After school, I picked up the levy from Sandy Hill's Elementary, and we walked home. And she began kidding around and bumping me with her backpack, trying to trip me. Livy is 8. She thinks that stuff is funny. But I was in no mood. I started walking faster to get away from her. I heard you got in trouble today, she called. Huh? I swung around and stared at her. How did you hear about it? You're not even in the same school. Some kids were talking, she said. Oh, great. The big news was spreading all over town. Perfect. Honor, Rose student, Matt Daniels, is a big cheater. Thank you, Bradley. Lowered my head and started to cross the street. Mr. Scudder's words echoed in my mind. This is strike 2, Matt, but one more strike, and I have no choice. I have to suspend you from school. Mum wasn't home, so I used my key, climbed the stairs, and opened the door to my room. Oh, no, I moaned. What are you doing here? Bradley sat in front of my laptop. He kept typing for a bit, then spun around. Your computer is faster than mine, he said. You don't mind if I use it, do you? A cry escaped my throat. I realized my hands were balled into tight flat fists. Also, I borrowed his t-shirt from your dresser. Mine got a stain on it. Bradley said, "It looks better on me. Don't you think? Okay, if I keep it." The tie-dye shirt said, "Peace, love, rock and roll. Forever on the front. It belonged to my dad. He gave it to me last Christmas. It's my favourite shirt." I stepped up behind Bradley and wrapped my hands around his neck. "Should I kill you now or wait till after dinner?" I said. He grinned at me. I thought I was joking. "What's your problem, Matt?" he said. Okay, so we're going to continue Goosebumps on page 22. So, okay, I'm going to take a break from reading Goosebumps Horrorland for Monster Blood for Breakfast. I hope you enjoyed listening to me while reading Goosebumps story. This is really interesting. There's young adults and teenagers horror stories books you like. Okay, so I'll see you on the next part of reading Goosebumps Horrorland. I'll see you soon, and thank you very much.